Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show, along with Zach Meisel. I'm Adam the Bull, and the sky is not falling down, Zach, for at least a week. The Guardians do well in San Francisco and Sacramento, get some West Coast cooking, and win 4 of 6. Are you excited right now, or are you tempering that excitement?
I'm always excited. Can't you? You know me.
Yeah, you're a very
bubbly
excited
and
guy.
yeah. Did you stay up for all the games? Did you watch the final pitch on the West Coast?
I will answer that question coming up next. It's the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. The answer is most of them, but not all of them. I watched all 3 Giants games, and I watched 2 of 3 Oakland. I don't think I watched a Friday night game. Not Oakland, Sacramento. But yeah, so I watched most, but I couldn't. I think it was Friday that I couldn't make it up. It was 3 nights in a row, and or 2, and then whatever it was. But so most of them. Did you see them all? I mean, it's
Not no.
Yeah.
Which I was on. We'll call it vacation.
Yeah.
Last week anyway. So I tried to separate. I kind of had to. We had a lot going on, and then the good thing is like that's it. Like they go to Arizona in August,
right?
But I think that's the extent of the multi-time zone road games.
Yeah, they go their final road trip of the first. They go to Wrigley, and then they go to Chicago twice, but not back to back. Come on, schedule makers.
We go to Chicago 3 times in like 5 weeks. It's insane.
That is weird.
Yeah,
they did that way, but I don't know. And then after the break, Kansas City, Chicago, Arizona, as you said, Texas, Boston,
Arizona, and Texas in mid-August. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. Wow, they're home a lot in September. That's nice. From September 8th on, the Guardians don't go any further than Minnesota. It's all division games from September 8th on.
Does that make you change your thinking? Can they climb back into this division?
No, I don't think they'll climb back into the division. I'm not even changing my mind that I think there's a decent chance they'll be under 500 before the All-Star break. But, you cannot be positive about how they played this week. I'm not going to make swinging judgments on my overall analysis of the team based on one good week, especially when 3 of those 6 games were against one of the worst teams in baseball. But nevertheless, it's a major positive the way they pitched. But as we've talked about so many times on this show, and as you and I have talked about on other shows before, they've never had a problem developing pitching. And, Luis Ortiz and Slade Ciccone are the latest. Now, to be fair, Ortiz, I felt like started turning the corner a little bit last year with Pittsburgh. But Ciccone, who hadn't spent much time in the majors, looked completely lost in the big leagues when he had his opportunity. And both of those guys seem to be really rounding into form here. And what's making up a really good rotation right now. At least that's how it looks at the moment. But it doesn't change my mind on the massive holes on the offense, which maybe they'll address and change my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know I wrote it. I may have said it, I don't know, a month ago. The rotation is going to have to be the team's strength. Like they have to get back to the way it was 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago when it was Kluber and company, and it was the rotation is the backbone, right? That's the thing that's going to keep you in games. It's the thing that's going to be reliable year after year. And they've continued to trend in the right direction on that front. And I think the most encouraging sign is that while Gavin Williams has been much better over the last month or so, Luis Ortiz has, I think, like out of 15 starts this season, 9 have been good and 6 have been clunkers. And I feel like he's trended in the right direction of making that ratio better. You probably want it to be like 3 out of every 4 are good instead of 3 out of every 5.
Mm-hmm.
Ciccone's been great. I've no complaints about him.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
And Bybee, like, it's still a little inconsistent, but he's the guy you probably trust the most anyway.
Yeah.
To be to be reliable. So the best part about all this is that with all of those guys, there's clearly room to improve. Tanner Bybee would be the first to tell you that he can be better and needs to be better. Gavin Williams has completely overhauled his pitch mix mid-season. Like, he throws cutters all the time now and has changed the way he's attacked hitters to try to get them off of his fastball, even though his fastball used to be his bread and butter. So, like, you're seeing this development, you're seeing this evolution, and I think it's a really good sign. And it's the way it has to be for this team because, look, they had a good week. And you know how many runs they scored this week? 3, 4, 1, 1, 4, 3.
Yeah.
They score more than 4 runs on that road trip. They've scored more than 4 runs once in the month of June. Once. So this is the way it has to be. You have to have the rotation be your rock. And I think not only has it been lately, but there's still a lot of development left for these guys. They can be even better.
You know, it's funny when you say they got to get back to the pitching, the way they were 10 years ago. It got me thinking. I was thinking about the 2016 lineup. You said pitching, and obviously their pitching was great. But I was thinking, like, how good was the lineup? I feel like in 2016 they had a good lineup, but I can't remember. Like, I was trying. I wanted to look at the stats, so I brought up the 2016. The most common starting lineup, the guys who played the most at each position. The average OPS in 2016 was 740. That was the average. How many regular starters in the Guardians lineup had over a 740 OPS in 2016? What's your guess? Out of 9 guys.
So Lindor for sure, Ramirez for sure, Napoli for sure.
That's
Brantley was injured.
Yeah, he didn't play much that year. Yes.
Kipnis had a good year, I think. So I'd say him.
Yes, you are correct. In fact, he had the 3rd best OPS on the team. No, 4th. I'm sorry.
And I'm gonna say that's it.
No, there's actually 7.
Oh,
Carlos Santana.
Oh, of course.
That's 5. Now the 2 that are shocking are Tyler Naquin and Lonnie Chisenhall.
Oh yeah.
Now they didn't play every day, but they played the most. They had most at bats in their spots. Naquin had an 886 OPS that year, and had 14 home runs, but he got on base a lot. And Chisenhall had a 767. And then
Chisenhall, Geyer. Once they got Geyer at the trade deadline, like that platoon, that's what you want a platoon to be.
You know what Geyer's OPS was for the Guardians?
9 something.
You're correct. 907. He was great against lefties that year. That was the one platoon. Well, catcher a little bit, but not really. Gomes played most of the time. Gomes was the only subpar hitter on the second worst OPS on that team of the guys who started most of the time was Rajai Davis, which was 693, which is not hideous. It's not good, but he stole 43 bases.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Gomes, you could live with the no hitting from Gomes because he was a great defensive catcher and the rest of the lineup was good. So, like, a lot of those names aren't sexy, but they hit. They hit that year.
Yeah, and I think they figured it out as they went too, right? Like they had Juan Uribe starting at third base. Right? I think that's what screwed me up. Is like
no doubt.
That lineup changed and evolved as the season went on. So you got Uribe out of there.
Marlon Byrd was there for a while.
Marlon Byrd. Colin Cowgill was in the opening day lineup.
Oh, my God.
And and so then you get to the postseason and you're like, okay, the pitching, they'll do their best, but they've got like 2 healthy arms out there. So you just need timely hitting, and they got enough of it to get to Game 7 of the World Series. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that this team, if the rotation carries them, they're going to win the World Series. No, they have to get more from their offense, but I've given up on that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think you're going to get more from Gabriel Arias and from Bo Naylor and from everybody else. Like, I just, like, while you're waiting for DeLauder or for trade acquisition X or for whoever else, you need good pitching to keep you in games. And it's also helped, like, how much have you seen of Jacob Junis and Colby Allard lately? You've barely seen them. Right. And that's a good sign. Those are like the white flag guys. Like when Jacob Junis comes in, it means you're down 4-1 in the 6th inning, and you're eventually going to lose 7-2. Like it's just, and so they've been in every game. They could have won. They could have swept the Giants. They lost that first game in Sacramento, and it was a weird game where it felt like, Bybee gave up 5 runs, but he had really good stuff. And like, that felt like a game where, like, if you don't make some errors early on and you get a little bit of offense, maybe you could win it. But the point is, like, the pitching has kept them close.
Oh yeah,
all month. And so it's truly just get any offense going and you can win.
And the pitching earlier in the season had not been very good, and we were concerned about that because, I mean, early in the season they weren't hitting, and the pitching wasn't very good. The bullpen even struggled a little bit, and yeah, I mean, Slade Ciccone has just been fantastic, especially his last few starts. And what's funny is early in the season, Ben Lively was actually probably the best pitcher before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Every pitcher goes one way, every hitter goes the other way. But again, this is a long way to go in terms of being sure about Ciccone and Ortiz. But both came in here with good stuff. I mean, Ciccone was a first-round pick, much like another Diamondback starter the Guardians acquired in our old buddy Trevor Bauer, who I think is playing in the California Penal League right now. So
is that true?
No, I'm kidding. But he'd probably be good in it.
You guys were friends, right? You guys were close.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler says, vaguely remember seeing June 24th as the Super 2 date for Kayce the Lauder. Is that accurate? I mean,
I thought the Super 2 date has passed, and that's part of why you've seen a barrage of call-ups recently.
Well, barrage except for the Guardians, right?
That also shouldn't matter. If you have to pay a guy a couple million extra in arbitration in a few years, who cares?
Maybe, and that's maybe after
that's if you're fortunate. Like if the guy is good enough to stick in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Right.
How much are you really talking for Super 2? You're talking even if the guy's fantastic. What are you talking? $5 million maybe?
I guess it would just the extra year of ARB would come at the end, but you're usually you could trade the guy before then anyway.
Yeah, it's so silly. It's so silly. Kayce says I mean we've been through this before. I guess it's kind of silly at this point, but 931 OPS in Columbus in 44 games. That's a good sample size.
He's been awesome. It's actually like this week was maybe his worst week of the year or for a while. I was going back and looking at his game logs. Like the guy gets on base every single day. His worst week was
his on base this year in the minors between AA and AAA is over 400. Even AAA alone, I think it's a 380 or something.
He's been bouncing between first base and corner outfield. Yeah. DeLauder just had a week where his OPS was 1,300, and he's just like he's too good for AAA pitching. It is simply just building him up. And he's played 3 in a row a couple times now, but that shouldn't stop. Like if he gets injured while he's at AAA, what a shame. Like at least let him, if he's going to get injured, let him get injured in the big leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's not going to play every day. Once you call him up anyway, they're going to give him a day off against a lefty here and there. So yeah, I think he needs to be in the majors. I think tomorrow would make all the sense in the world. I know they're facing a couple righties. They are facing Eric Lauer in the opener Tuesday. So they're facing a lefty and then a couple righties. I don't know if that matters, but it's beyond time to get some new blood up to the majors and inject a little bit of life into the offense.
Again, Rodriguez to the minors, Santana traded, DFA'd, trade him for whatever. You're not going to get much. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. Santana's OPS is down like 680.
Yep.
By the way, the average OPS, as I mentioned in 2016, was 740. Now it's set this year at 712, 9 years later. Evan 419 says Bauer gave up 7 earned runs in 1 inning of work in Japan yesterday. I don't know if I'm guessing that's true. Evan seems like a pretty reliable source. Thank you.
I saw that as well. Interesting.
A $400 million Jet. I hope they can score more than 5 runs in a game at least once more this year. I shouldn't be that negative. I
Just
mean,
once before I die.
they won 4 of 6. It was a positive week. I get we're all frustrated about the offense, but it was a positive week, so I don't want to be too negative about the offense right now. They won 4 of 6. I know the A's aren't very good, but San Francisco is a good team. They took 2 out of 3 from them, and things. This next 2 weeks will be a very interesting challenge, though, because you end the first half with the White Sox, but before that, you're playing all at least solid, if not much better teams. Toronto's been playing well. St. Louis is decent. And then the Cubs are in a bit of a slump here, but we know they're 15 games over 500. And Detroit and Houston obviously are playing great. So you got, 15 straight games. 9 of them are at home, but 15 straight games against playoff teams or playoff contenders at least. So it'll be interesting to see how they do these next 2 weeks before the White Sox because.
Yeah, I mean, so what do they have? 19 games
19 games left.
Total?
Yeah.
Can you go 12-7?
That'd be very impressive. If they did that against the schedule they have,
11-8. If they're 50-45 going into the break, Bull, tell me this: how much better do you feel about them? The way the starting pitching's been going, where you're going to be in it. Don't you feel just better about? Look, the offense is the offense. It's maddening. They keep cycling guys through the number 2 spot in the order, and it's just nothing works. Once you get past Ramirez in the lineup, it's all right, how many hitters until Quan again? But don't you feel just better about, at least they're going to be in it. They're going to be in the game, and you feel better about them moving forward if the rotation can keep pitching like this, because then you're not you're using Cade Smith when you're up. It's not like, oh, well, Cade Smith needs work and we're down 6-2 and let's get him an inning here, and then the next night you're winning and he pitches, and then the next day you can't use him. It just makes everything a little bit more feasible when a starting staff is really clicking, and I think that just showed up this week. They didn't score runs,
right?
They didn't, but they went 4-2.
Yeah, they went from. That's why they won. They didn't hit anymore. They just went from the pitching being okay to the pitching being very good. And as you say, getting to the better relievers, which, those guys are more likely to do a better job. So, yes, it's a major positive. You feel like they're going to keep you in all these games. It is going to be fascinating to see in these next 5 series. You got, the Cubs and Tigers have very good lineups, and the Cardinals, Blue Jays, and Astros have. The Astros also have a very good lineup, and the Cardinals and Blue Jays have been, especially the Blue Jays have been a lot better offensively lately. So it's going to be a fun challenge to see them face these much better lineups here.
I do think the A's have a pretty good lineup. The top 6 in their order are pretty interesting. And they're young.
Yeah.
But also that lineup in that ballpark, that wasn't easy.
They got a lot of power. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. The Athletics where are they in terms of? They're middle of the pack in terms of runs scored. League average is 338 runs scored. They have 335 runs scored.
Yeah, they have a 104 OPS plus, so they're 4% better than league average. But I just think the bottom of their order stinks. I mean, I've never heard of the catcher who started for them, Willie McIver.
Yeah, because their catcher got hurt, so they got two no-name catchers, right?
But between Langoliers and Kurtz and the Jacob Wilson kid is really good hitter. Soderstrom had an incredible start to the season.
Yeah,
Lawrence Butler, I think, is an absolute treat to watch. Rooker's really good.
Yeah,
and then even guys like Blade and Luis Urias were once top prospects.
Yeah, that's true.
Urias has been all right. Blade's had a bad year, but that lineup is
not terrible. No, you're right. It's not bad. They're actually in OPS plus. They're actually 10th in the league in OPS plus.
Yeah, their pitching's atrocious. 77. Their team ERA is 5.42. So I think that's the indictment on your offense, is that you barely scored any runs against that pitching staff in that ballpark. But a job well done by the pitching staff to limit them.
The Guardians are 27th in OPS plus, ahead of the Rockies, the White Sox, and the Pirates.
Is that the company you want to keep?
I don't think so. Although I think the Rockies are in the last 3 weeks are around the 500 team the last 3 weeks. So good for them. Maybe a game or two under. All right, let's get to some more chats. Big J Bone Fry is basically having spring. Yeah, like why is Fry still? What is going
Well, they
on?
rushed him back. Remember,
Yeah.
what was the transaction with him? Did Lane Thomas, I think, wind up back on the injured
I
list,
think so. Yeah.
and they needed somebody, and I think it was just a matter of circumstance where like Fry was the easiest guy to get that day because he was going to come back the following week anyway. But yeah, I mean it's tough. Like he's a part-time player right now with no defensive versatility who's knocking off rust.
Right.
Like
Why
that's a
can't they
terrible
send him?
combination.
Why not send him to the minors? He's got options left. Like, why would you? I
I
just
mean he is I will say he's beloved by teammates and coaches, so like they're always going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
right.
Um
But wouldn't it help him to go to the minors for a couple of weeks?
Man, maybe you do that eventually.
Yeah.
And you tell him like this isn't
Right.
it's not a you thing, it's just
Yeah.
the situation.
So I don't get what they're doing, but it's just they just operate in a weird way. And they'll have you thinking you're insane for asking why CJ Kayce is not up here. They'll have some excuse for why you're an idiot and they know what they're doing and look, that's the same. Well, anyway. All right, let's see. I'll read some more comments here. Before we do that, let me talk to you about Buckeye Credit Union, folks. Let's get to some Buckeye Credit Union action. At Buckeye Credit Union, if you haven't heard of them yet, meet your new favorite financial partner. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local institution offering everything from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans with some of the lowest rates in Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland branch is in Shaker Heights, which is one of 5 locations across the state, making it easier to find one near you. Can't get to a branch? No problem. We made banking simple through digital banking. What sets them apart? They make banking personal and convenient. At Buckeye, their focus is on you. Their core values: connect, simply adapt, guide everything they do. They bring people together, cut through the clutter, and are innovative. To learn more, visit buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. All right, Zach, I know you love talking about FanDuel, so you're up next.
I sure do, because summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I know that's how you spent your weekend, Bull.
Yeah.
Look, the NBA Finals are done, and maybe you had the Thunder winning the series. Maybe you had Tyrese Halliburton not playing the second half at like plus $1 million. But there are so many myriad options, things you can do on FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, well, new customers can bet just $5 and get a $150 bonus bet if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started.
All right. Good job out of you, Zach. I want to talk to folks also about MenuRx. If you are thinking about losing weight, if you're thinking about getting in better shape, just trying to find out what food fuels your body best. Well, yeah, one choice would be to go on Instagram, see some whack job who's posting a video and pretends to be an expert, but he has no qualifications whatsoever. Or you can do the smart thing and go to menu-rx.com. My friend, Dr. Jake May, a Clevelander, he and a group of doctors, scientists, and nutritionists have a clinic down in Louisiana, and they work with people to help them. They're passionate about food and nutrition. They do metabolic testing to see what foods work best for your body. See, when it comes to dieting, nutrition, just getting in better shape, not everybody's body works the same. So you can't follow some random dude on the internet because something that works for him, even if we don't even know if it worked, but if it did, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. At MenuRx, they'll work with you specifically, one-on-one coaching and training with real experts. So go to menu-rx.com today, menu-rx.com. If you sign up for any of their programs right now, you'll get a 1-year membership to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show absolutely free. That's a $60 value for $0. MenuRx.com. There you go. All right. Zach, let's get to a couple more comments from the fans here before we wrap things up. We've got Michael Keene says, what's the deal with Ailman? Why has he not been called up yet?
Franco Alman, he's struggled a little bit lately.
Yeah.
I think his ERA is up to 6.91. Yeah, it's been a rough go. He had a hot stretch there, and then the last 3 outings, he's gone 2 innings, 6 runs, 6 hits, 6 walks. So he's there are times when I think he is can do the Sabrowski-Walters act from last year, where you come up in September and just dominate, and then you're a part of the bullpen if you make the playoffs. But he's got to be more consistent. He's got opponents have a 300 average off him this year, 400 on base percentage. So that's got to come down. Too much traffic on the bases. Strikeout rate's great.
Yeah.
Stuff's great, but he's got to limit the traffic.
Tyler says the schedule gets so much softer after the All-Star break that just surviving the next few weeks would be a massive win. Oakland, Baltimore, Kayce, Colorado. I know Kayce's not playing great, but they're not awful. Baltimore's played much better lately. We just talked
when teams see the Guardians on the upcoming schedule, what do they think?
Yeah, they think, oh, they can't hit. We can win. We can win. Yeah, I mean, the Guardians are in no position to take anybody lightly.
But I will say, I mean, it's even more reason to just get your best hitters up here.
That's right.
Right? Like, if you're fortunate enough to be in a position to trade for a hitter who can help you, like, you're going to have to score some more runs here over the next month.
Let me ask you this. We talked a little bit about last week. I think we talked about, I can't remember if we talked about it here or in UCSS, but somebody had asked me about Stephen Kwan playing center field. In theory, that'd be easier to get a left fielder, right? Like, DeLauder or Kayce could play left field easier than they could play center. And it could, especially with Lane Thomas, who's been an absolute zero this year. Obviously he's more comfortable in left, but if they needed him to play center, how would you feel about that? How would he feel about that?
It's a good question. I'm sure it's something they've discussed because either he is against it or they're against it.
Right.
They've always, with Andres Gimenez, it was like, well, why doesn't he just play shortstop? It's easier to find a second baseman like Juan Brito or whoever. But he was he was a platinum glove winner at second base.
Yeah.
He didn't want to change during the season, but he went to winter ball and was playing shortstop and just getting reps there. But it never happened. And I wonder if the same thing with Kwan, where it's like he has only ever been a Gold Glover in left field. He has had hamstring issues in the past. I don't know if that could play a factor in it. If you're him, are you just more comfortable being in left field and not wanting to jeopardize future earnings? I don't know. Or if you go to center field and you prove you're great at it, then he could make even more money. Center fielders are more valuable on the market than left fielders. So I
just don't know. Yeah. And in the end, like, do you make much more money for being an elite left fielder? Is that getting you much more money than if you're just the hitter that he is? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it helps in arbitration, I would think.
Sure.
But I'm with you. The biggest difference here is for the team, it would be very helpful if he could play center field. You're right, because you could stick Kayce in right, you could stick DeLauder in left, and you could call it a day. But trying to shoehorn like Nolan Jones in at center field, where he is historically proven to be below average, or even Lane Thomas, who is really a right fielder who hasn't been great in center. It's tough. Like these puzzle pieces don't fit. And I don't know what it looks like when they do, or if they do eventually fit.
I just don't understand. Like, they're okay moving all these other guys to different positions they've never played, but yet Kayce can't come up because of his defense. Or Kwan, who's great, can't move to another position because they maybe he'd be maybe he'd be a borderline Gold Glover in center as opposed to.
Well, you're never going to get transparency about that either.
No.
you don't want to put the blame on the player, or what may seem obvious to us is maybe more complicated, and they don't want us to know why.
Yeah, fair enough. That's often the case. All right. So coming up this week for the Guardians, they're back home. They've got the Blue Jays. The series starts tomorrow, 6:40 and 6:40 on Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday at 1:10. And then the Cardinals come into town on the weekend, the Friday game on Apple TV, the Sunday game on Roku. I know that's going to make people very happy.
Is that a noon first pitch?
Yeah, 12:05 first pitch on Sunday. Logan Allen will pitch today. The Blue Jays have not announced starters for 2 of the 3 games in the series.
I actually have it.
Oh, you have it now?
Yeah, it's Eric Lauer, Max Scherzer, and Kevin Gossman.
Okay. Oh, so Scherzer's coming off the IL Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Lauer probably won't go deep into the game. And so that means it's Gavin Williams. Oh, those are some good pitching matchups. Gavin Williams, and I mean, who knows what Scherzer is at this point. But Williams against Scherzer and Bybee against Gausman is good. And then Ortiz and Ciccone, and will pitch over the weekend against the Cardinals. So there you go. All right. You feeling good about this week at home or not so much?
Is it possible to feel good with this offense? I don't like the pitching's been great.
Yeah.
How long can you keep up winning 3-2 every night? That's my question.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe Chase DeLauder will be in the starting lineup Wednesday or something. And
why not Tuesday? Oh, Wednesday, because if June 21st is the day.
Because a lefty starter Tuesday.
That shouldn't even matter. If a guy's a player, it shouldn't matter. Especially if Eric Lauer. I mean.
Don't you want him to debut against Max Scherzer? That would be a cool story.
Exactly. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us today. As always, we'll be back next Monday. For Zach, I'm Adam. We'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.